Alrighty, so I'll begin. Welcome. This would be the 11th. So this is Psych 111 introduction. So again, I'll kind of go over brief underline in terms of everything that I'll kind of go over and everything else. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to contact me. Alrighty, number one, hello, my name is Mr. Barber. Primarily one of the things is I only go by Mr. Barber. We're not on a first name basis, so it'd be really weird to call me by my first name. Primarily I only reserve that for my son and people that actually know me, family members. So aside from that, you'll know me only as Mr. Barber, which is fine. So again, Mr. Barbie and Ishia. Again, I've worked in different fields. If you notice here, this is Amber Karate. So I've worked on different coalitions and different initiatives in regards to domestic violence and sexual assaults, and a lot of different initiatives. And one of the most recent initiative is working on missing and murdered Dinesh relatives initiative. So again, you'll have my picture there. So that's when I had hair, or I had the quiff. Again, you also have me in my N95 mask. Again, this was taken way back right when COVID first hit. I'm a big believer in prevention. So one of the biggest things is my degree is in the area of forensic psychology, emphasis on homeland security. So within that, one of the biggest things I'm always looking at is studying uniquenesses with security and looking at safety measures. And so when this hit, it was one of those things where my first thought was, is this chemical warfare, everything else? So again, I already had a lot of these different things in reserve, and so it was one of those uniquenesses. So when it did hit, it was kind of like, oh, okay, And within that, that's one of the biggest things is I'm always trying to utilize a lot of prevention efforts and everything else. Again, I am your instructor, so we'll continue onwards. So a little bit about me. My name, so you know my name. So again, my clans, Techin Ishla, Kiani Bashichin, Ashin Dashache, Hoatlan Dashanale. Primarily, Tanakanande and Asha. But one of the biggest things is I always have this little disclaimer. I do reside in Round Rock, Arizona, but I'm actually a New Mexican. I was born in Shiprock, so again, just right over the hill. But I've lived on the reservation I want to say my whole life, but that's not true. But there's a part of me that I have lived on the reservation, and I have worked on the reservation pretty much my whole career. So within that, one of the biggest things that I always look at is just my working with victims of domestic violence and sexual assaults. So again, that's where the Captain Awesome kind of came about. Within that, I used to do different efforts with them and also work as the crisis coordinator. Within that bullet number 3, I have a BA in psychology from the University of New Mexico. That's where I attended in Albuquerque, and I enjoyed my time up there. Within that, I also have a Master's of Arts in Forensic Psychology. Emphasis on the homeland security, and currently I'm working on my clinical doctorate in our doctorate in clinical psychology. One of the biggest efforts that I'm looking at is domestic violence on the Navajo Nation. So now, during my graduate studies, I worked on one-on-one in a residential care program in Chinling, working with children and adults that were developmentally disabled, and that's where I got a lot of my insight, and that's when I first applied it when I was in undergrad, and then when I went into graduate school, that's where I was applying a lot of my efforts as well. So again, during my time as a domestic violence coordinator, a program coordinator, I was able to offer care and support to a lot of the victims and survivors that I met and worked with in the area of domestic violence and sexual assaults. In addition to that, I also offered a lot of psychoeducation to inmates. So that's where I created a 5-year effort in working with the local correctional facility in Chinle, where you look at re-education and support regarding violence prevention. Again, one of the biggest things that I always look at is the aspect of trauma, and how trauma has a huge impact on our lives and how it makes us create and also make distinct choices which can impact our future. In addition to that, I also worked as an independent private consultant, and a lot of that was prevention work, working with the community, and that's where I did a lot of pro bono work. And that's where I offered a lot of different educational insights here and there to different communities, different organizations. So again, that's what I love to do. I love to educate. In the area of violence prevention, I'm a big advocate of violence prevention. So now I am your instructor, and I will try my very best to ensure that I not only motivate you to succeed, but also to motivate you to become the most brilliant person in the room. One of the biggest things is, and I cannot stress this enough, is within your writing, I'm always going to be asking the question of, does this have a reference point, or does this have in-text citation? Does this have this, that, and the other? And the reason why is not so I can hound you with information, but rather I want you to know this information so when you're working on the field, you're not left in the dark. That's one of the biggest things that I always came across, especially working on the Navajo Nation. And sometimes just being the youngest individual working on the Navajo Nation, a lot of times you're coming from a unique standpoint, because a lot of times individuals will look at you from the outlook of, well, you're young, so that means you don't know a lot. To a certain point, yes, that's true. But what I always try to implement is also the aspect of utilizing a lot of wisdom. And a lot of wisdom is just application, applying the skill sets and everything that you've learned, so that you're able to better understand it and also help and assist others. And that's where a lot of times you're having to apply a lot of that brilliance in your home life and also in the professional sphere. So the oddity of our minds, herein lies the uniqueness of this course. Again, I want you to learn the aspect of thinking outside of the proverbial box. But I want you to defend your stance on issues pertaining to psychology. A lot of times you're going to come across individuals that will question your standpoint. They'll question your stance. They'll question why. And when that happens, I want you to be able to have a good basis, a good fundamental basis, so that you're able to say, yes, this is the reason why I hold on to this based upon the research that such and such or so and so has done. And so that's where I really try to apply those methodologies. So what does this course entail? The course is an introduction to the scientific study of individual behavior. This course will offer a comprehensive outlook of major approaches, perceptions, subjects, methods, interpretations, influences, and efforts pertaining to the psychological knowledge of everyday life. Again, the course will cover biological influences on behavior, our perception, sensations, learning, cognition, motivation, emotion, personality, human development, psychopathology, and psychotherapy approaches. Again, one of the biggest things, here's a disclaimer. I have a lot of students who take this course, and once they take this course, they believe they are now therapists, and now they can utilize the knowledge. Again, one of the biggest things I can say is that, one, I would urge you to slow down. Two, the only way you can offer therapeutic assistance or therapeutic insight, again, would be through licensure. So again, you have to have your license and have to have many more years of college and education. And again, a lot of it comes down to the ethics. The reason why is you're having to learn a lot about ethics, the ethicalities of such and such, the ethicalities of how to interpret results, ethicalities of how to deal with a certain issue. And that's one of the biggest things you're always having to, that's a huge, huge foundation for psychology. So that's the reason why I try to add this disclaimer every time I teach this course. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. So much writing. Why? Why do I have to do so much writing? Again, I want you to develop an understanding of the field of psychology. Again, you're looking at all these different elements. There's going to be a lot of information being thrown around. Number two, I want you to be able to summarize and critically assess theory and research related to psychological studies of thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Again, you're looking at summation. Summation meaning that I want you to summarize a lot. So much so that I don't want you to utilize a lot of quotes. I have a lot of students who utilize a lot of quotes, and it's great. It sounds great. It looks great. But those quotes simply just cover up your original thoughts. What I mean by that is, if you can read a body of literature and if you can put it into your own words, do so. And that's where you're going to have what's considered in-text citation. And that's one of the things you're going to be applying later on in the course, how to apply in-text citation. And the reason why I want you to do that is I want you to have your own voice, but in addition to having your own voice, I want you to be able to share it from your own perspective. And when you apply a lot of quotes, you're kind of covering up your perspective. And that's the reason why I try to make sure that you get out of the habit of utilizing quotes. Number 3, make predictions about the factor that help to explain variations in thinking and reasoning. You're making predictions. A lot of psych work, you're having to make unique assumptions. And through those assumptions, you're kind of saying, okay, how can I test it? What things am I looking at? Why is that person acting the way they're acting? Why does my boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other act the way they act? Why do I act the way that I act? Why do I do the things that I do? And that's where you're kind of making predictions about the factors. Then you're developing skills for expressing ideas clearly. Again, this is not a creative writing course. I will push you to write a lot. If you have any of my 200, 300 level courses, they know if you have any of them as friends or anything else, they'll tell you that I will push them to write, and they are writing critically. They are writing to make sure that they can explain such and such. And that's one of the biggest things, is being able to write precisely, succinctly, in a manner that allows you to express your ideas. Then the last one, apply findings from research in psychology that can be applied to everyday life. And this is where I'm looking at the research. So say, for example, you're looking at research in regards to, even now, what is the current topic that we're having today? Current topic that we're having today is COVID-19. The pandemic hit, and when it hit, what happened to people? People panicked. And like I said, I used to work with crisis, so for me, I want to say that I thrive. I thrive on crisis. But one of the biggest things you find is individuals, when they're in that unique state of mind. Like, say, for example, why did people buy so many toilet paper and water? And people were like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? And it's very simple. One, it gave people something to do. When they were buying toilet paper, when they were buying things in bulk, it took their mind off of what was happening, but also it gave them control. It gave them control of the situation that was happening at the beginning of the pandemic. And then what happened? When you look at isolation, what happened with isolation? Isolation creates uniquenesses even in our own physicality, our own psychological needs. When you're isolated for a long period of time, it creates loneliness. It creates all these levels of anxiety. It creates all these different things. And so what do? You try to connect. And so people find different ways to connect. And that's where Zoom meetings came out. That's where you have social distancing parties, where you're having parties by utilizing Zoom or utilizing different Facebook apps and all these different apps to try to connect. And that's one of the biggest things you kind of look at. And that's how you would apply psychology in regards to everyday life. So again, that's where you're looking at a lot of these different uniquenesses. So important note, do not skip. The online course is not self-paced. I cannot urge this. I cannot stress this enough. You'll have a detailed schedule. Try to stick to that schedule. Overall, I stick to that schedule. A lot of students who have taken my course before know that I don't really deviate from my own syllabus. One of the reasons why is because that is an initial contract. So we'll go through it. Unless indicated by your instructor, due to error, due to rate of progression within the course, or unforeseen circumstances. In other words, aliens from outer space attack. If that happens, please submit your work. I will get it graded, and I will give it back to you. So that's one of the biggest things, is I just want to make sure that that is stressed, is whenever any uniquenesses are coming up, please submit your work. Bullet number 2, you can arrange your schedule flexibly during each week, but again, I'll leave that up to you. One of the biggest things is you'll have deadlines. So deadlines are different from the due dates. Due dates is primarily when I would want it due, but the deadlines are where everything is kind of cut off. But again, I've had students simply still stick to the due dates. The reason why is a lot of these assignments begin to add up. And if you miss one here, miss one there, it starts to build up. And before you know it, you're emailing me saying, well, I have such and such assignments for this, that, and the other class, and now I have this class too. One of the biggest things is trying to stay on track. And again, I leave that up to you. Number 3, on the other portion, there are deadlines for the major assignments, in that they have a deadline for the submission, and if late, they will not be accepted unless a viable excuse is given. The excuse of I have other assignments for other courses that are due will not be accepted. And this is what I was talking about. I've had students who bulked up on courses. They took 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courses, not really taking into consideration the fact that they have assignments in all those other courses as well. And so what happens is when they do that, they become overwhelming. And again, I leave that up to you. There's a certain amount of leeway that I give, but also don't abuse that. I am trying to work with you as the best of my ability as well. So again, that's one of the biggest things. Bear in mind, you are in college. Plan accordingly. In addition, reliable, consistent, and adequate internet access for the duration of the course is critical for your participation. You need internet. You're going to submit a lot of your work through internet. And it's one of those things where I've had students say, well, I don't have internet. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, because it's usually, not usually, but what happens at the beginning of these courses, before you sign up, you take a brief survey, and that brief survey indicates that, 1, you do have adequate internet service. If you say, no, I don't know what you're talking about, I will simply contact your academic advisor, and they will supply me with that information, and I will show it to you. And if you're like, oh, I denied it, it's all lies, I don't know what to tell you. But one of the biggest things is I just want to make sure that you have adequate internet access. Again, it's one of those things where we are still in a pandemic. There's so many different uniquenesses that are still going on. Communication is still key. And you'll find that even in my syllabus, how to contact me. And that's one of the biggest things is how to contact me. You'll contact me by phone. And you'll kind of go over that. I'll leave that to you when you go over that. Read it thoroughly. Read my syllabus thoroughly. You'll find how to contact me. But also bear in mind when you do contact me, make sure you indicate your name and also the course number and also a time to actually talk. So primarily that's one of the biggest things is when you go that route, just make sure that I know who it is, and also what course it's from and everything else. I've had students just simply call me, and if I see an unknown number, I won't answer it. And this is just due to my prior work of working with inmates and working with victims of DV and working with perpetrators. So it's one of those things where I just try to have that even keel across the board in terms of safety for myself. So, course goals. So again, here you have the course goals. I'll have you go through it. You have Nsakes, Na'ata, Ina, and Sikhasin. Again, you have the thinking, planning, living, and assuring. Critical thinking will be applied within the course. Planning will be applied in which you are given the necessary tools for success, but it is up to you to plan accordingly so as to ensure that you succeed. Ina, the focus on life skills, implementation, and living mindfully, both with yourself and the world around you. And then Sikhasin, assuring. Again, the focus is twofold. Again, you make the effort to complete the course because it is up to you to make it happen. I can't do it for you. Number 2, to confidently solidify the information within so that you can become a positive beacon of hope and strength to those around you. And the reason why I have this second portion is I want you to know the information so that you can help others around you, or even help yourself within that. You're gaining new information at times. You're gaining this insight, not just so you can just kind of put it into your mind and everything else and that's it. I want you to be able to say, okay, I solidify this information so that I'm able to utilize it. And that's one of the biggest things you're having to do is utilize the information. Textbook. So here's the textbook. Again, there's a downloadable link in the Essentials tab in Blackboard. You also see how it needs to be formatted for referencing in there. Please make sure you take note of the referencing portion as well as the in-text citation, how to cite it, how to cite the book, the textbook. So again, here you have the textbook. It is the newest one. This is the second edition. Make sure you download it. I believe you need about 61 megabytes of 61 megabytes. So again, you need to download this textbook. It helps to download it versus if you just look at it online. If you have it online, great. But sometimes students have indicated, my internet went down, therefore I can't access a lot of the textbook. Again, this is that note. Download it. It's a lot easier that way. PowerPoints. You'll have different PowerPoints. You'll have chapter 1s all the way through. You'll have all the PowerPoints listed there. I will have periodic PowerPoints that will update. So what happens is for your PowerPoints, you'll have the rudimentary PowerPoint that I give to you. In addition to that, when I do lectures, a lot of those PowerPoints will be made available, or they're already made available, the rudimentary ones. But the one that I use are a little more in depth. What I mean by that is those are my own personal property. So within that, I don't share that with you. But again, a lot of it still gleans over the same information, but sometimes we'll go in depth in certain areas. And that's one of the things is I urge you to take notes. Because again, I'll still come at you in terms of indicating that this is still a lecture course and everything else. And so that's where I'll share a lot of the information through that as well. But overall, I urge you to look at a lot of the PowerPoints. They are made available. A lot of your quizzes will be taken from there. A lot of your quizzes will be taken from the textbook as well. And sometimes even from the articles that are proffered. So you'll be given different articles as well to kind of read over and look at and everything else. So I urge you to both take a look at the syllabus and also download the syllabus as the schedule for the assignments is listed within. So I believe it's the last page on the syllabus. You'll find your weekly Outlook schedule. Please look through them. I've had a student say, I can't find the schedule. And I indicated, did you go all the way to the last page? And they said, oh, wow, there it is. Please look at the whole, I believe it's 23 or 24 pages of the syllabus. It is considered the packet. Because it's a lot of reading. The syllabus is a lot of reading, and the reason why is I try to make sure that I cover all my ends as well, because I want to make sure that everything is kind of highlighted and kind of gone through in depthly, so that you initially know what you're getting. In addition to that, you kind of have a better understanding of how to implement a lot of the information. You'll be pushed to complete assignments, and that I want you to be a critical thinker. And that's one of the biggest things is critical thinking skills, that level of open-mindedness, communication, analysis, creativity, and problem solving. Again, you're going to have different opinions and different arguments. I want you to be able to be critically insightful in that I want you to be able to back up your opinions and arguments with actual facts. A lot of times, you go through life just simply having an assumption of things, but with the implementation of psychology, we're now utilizing facts to kind of back up our arguments. So communication. Again, if you click on the syllabus, on the Essentials, the text syllabus tab, you will find how to contact me. I have my personal cell phone number and the communication element. The reason being is I'm working from home. So again, we're all told to work from home. So again, that's one of the biggest things is I won't probably see you until the pandemic is over, which will be, I don't know when. So once everything kind of clears over and everything else, then maybe we'll actually have an actual conversation. But until then, one of the biggest things is I am working from home, so you'll only probably hear a voice, which is fine. I think you'll be okay with that. So now here are the various stipulations. If you're wanting to meet by way of telephone, please do not start calling me. I used to work with inmates and also victims and perpetrators of crime, therefore I will not answer the call. You are probably asking, well, how do I communicate with Mr. Barber? Here lies the answer below. You're going to text me to arrange a time to talk. Please indicate your name. I am not psychic, even though I have a degree in psychology. I am not psychic. and I need to know the course number. I had students simply say, well, it's me. That's great. That's awesome. I'm glad it's you. But I don't know who you are at times, and sometimes I don't even know what course number you're in. So again, and the reason why I say this is sometimes I teach large classes. And so within that, due to the large caseload, I need to know what course number is. So then I can click on your file and kind of click up on Blackboard and find your course and everything else and know what you're asking about. Again, if this is a pressing matter, please wait until I text you back. I have my phone on me almost all the time, unless I'm working out or doing something else. Most of the time I have my phone on me. Again, if you want to do a Zoom chat, this can also be arranged as well. Again, you just have to let me know. That's one of the biggest things, is let me know. I cannot urge this enough. I've had students who are very timid, and that's fine, but you got to let me know. You got to communicate with me if something pressing comes up. Don't wait until the end of the semester. Don't wait until midterms or until finals. Again, I always tell people I'm only a phone call away, or I'm just an email away. A lot of times my email, I'll send it back. So that's where I'll kind of go in the next portion. So Zoom meetings. Zoom meetings, please just text me a time to meet. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, this is the professional element that is being applied so that when you also go out into the field, you will have this skill down. Again, this pandemic has kind of taught us new skills in terms of Zoom meetings. I don't necessarily have Zoom meetings. I don't do weekly Zoom meetings. The reason why is it uses up too much data. And I know students are kind of hard pressed right now, and I would hate for you to utilize all your data. That's the reason why I just put a lot of the lectures into a YouTube video. And when you use YouTube, it doesn't use as much. It doesn't have that much of a bandwidth in terms of data usage. So that's one of the biggest things that I kind of noticed. So again, that's one of the things is if you want to do a Zoom meeting, as I'm trying to talk right now. If you want to do a Zoom meeting, just let me know so we can arrange that. So if you want to email me, by all means do so. I do check my emails on a daily basis, almost on an hourly basis. Again, I also have my phone, like I said. So if you send me an email, it'll actually indicate immediately on my phone. So a lot of times the turnaround time is usually an hour to 2 hours. But at best, I usually do a 24-hour turnaround time. But if you don't hear from me in 24 hours, just send me a text. But I also urge you to wait. I know that times you may send an email and you waited a whole 5 minutes and you don't hear from me. And this may prove to be worrying. I urge you to take a deep breath. I will get back to you. If I don't get back to you, send me an email again, or even just send me a text and say, hey, I sent you an email a week ago and I haven't heard from you. What's going on? And this is a very pressing matter and everything else. So again, that's one of the things. I don't really do snail mail, so that's the reason why I don't have my P.O. box and everything else on there. But if you want to do good old email, that's fine. So, internet. Please ensure that you have reliable internet access. The excuse of I forgot is not applicable to the given layout. Again, the internet is your responsibility. One of the biggest things is that's how I'll be in contact with you a lot. And that's one of the biggest things that I kind of reiterate time and time again is the fact that the internet portion is your responsibility. But if you're having any issues, let me know so that I can try to figure out a solution or help you try to figure out a solution to better assist you in that way. So again, communication is one of the key points. So internet additional. I know this is the res. I've worked a majority of my career on the res, so I know how it works. And I know the hardship of various cell networks and internet networks. One of the biggest things is if, say, for example, you say, hey, my internet's down, everything else, I will also double check. I'll contact IT, and if there's no internet outages or anything else, they'll kind of notify me. I used to work with Intuway a lot, so I kind of I used to do presentations with them, so I kind of have a good connection with them, and so I kind of reach out to them at times to say, hey, what's going on. But overall, that's one of the biggest things is if, say, for example, you come across a hardship in terms of internet, let me know. So we'll try to figure something out. In addition to that, if it's an assignment that you're trying to submit, still let me know. And that's one of the biggest things, is communication is key. And I've had students in the past that simply tried to submit an assignment once or twice and they simply just gave up. Don't do that. Try to communicate with me. Tell me, hey, this is what's happening. And because I can't urge this enough, because I've had students simply say, I just gave up. And I hope that's not the case, because if you are going into the field, you're going to come across a lot of different uniquenesses. And if you simply just give up every time, you're going to have a whole lot of issues. So that's one of the things, is making sure that you communicate with me. And you know how? By way of phone. If you don't communicate with me, I won't know. And the reason why I say this is, I've had students at the end of the semester who were upset, saying, you're not willing to work with me because I'm going through such and such. And at the end, all I can simply say is, well, you never notified me. You never let me know. You never let me know when you were going through this hardship and everything else. And that's one of the biggest things, is making sure that that is clear. And even in this time, even in COVID, that's one of the biggest things, is communication. It's very paramount. And it's listed also in the syllabus as well. Even if you are self-quarantining, stuff like that, you have to let me know of what's going on, so that I don't simply just assume that you just suddenly vanished. And that's one of the biggest things, is making sure that you still stay in communication, even in regards to that. So assignments. You'll have various assignments as listed within the syllabus. Please do not fall behind. Bear in mind that this is your responsibility. P.S. The excuse of the dog ate my homework, or even the excuse of I am taking other courses and this is not my only course as well, and yada yada yada. I can't accept that. It would be, 1, unethical. 2, it is your responsibility. And again, I've had students who said, I'm taking 4, 5, 6 courses. You have to work with me. No, I do not. I will try to work with you, but I do not have to work with you, because again, that is also your responsibility. So discussion assignments. You'll have a lot of discussion assignments. That's where I will be grading a lot of your work. Please take the assignments, discussion assignments, to heart, in terms of the fact that I will give feedback on there. If it's missing in-text citation and referencing, it will impact you. If you don't know how to do in-text citation and referencing, there are various guides on your resource tab. And that's where it kind of breaks down different elements that can help you. If you are having issues, I would urge you to set up a time with a tutor. But that's one of the biggest things, is I cannot urge that enough, is a lot of your discussion forums build on one another, in terms of the fact that you'll be applying a lot of the in-text citation and referencing and everything else, so that when you finally get into your final assignment, your big assignment, your library research paper, it's already solidified. And so that's one of the biggest things, is you're kind of building on that. Please keep to the schedule, as this can prove to be cumbersome if you fall behind. The excuse of I was not able to complete because I did not have the book or the article is nil, given that the majority of the material is provided. Again, most of the articles are already provided for you. Textbooks are already provided for you. And within that, I leave that up to you. You'll have quizzes as well. Please stay up to breath on those quizzes as well. And so that's one of the biggest things that you'll kind of be implementing as well as you're going along. So in-text citation and references. For many of you, these elements are foreign. I am a huge stickler on these elements, given that you will be using APA formatting for writing if you are to continue in the field of business, psychology, social work, counseling, and more. A lot of these different fields utilize APA formatting and APA styles. So again, that's where you're kind of moving away from MLA. MLA is mostly for, I believe, creative writing. But APA is more of the technical stuff. So that's one of the things. It's if you use it, I will indicate to you, and you'll probably get points deducted for this and that if it continues to happen more and more. And again, like I said, there'll be various guides that will kind of help you. We'll be utilizing the APA 7th edition. So again, bear that in mind. as we're moving forward. So intake, citation, and references, take a look at the guides listed in the resource tab. For referencing, paraphrasing, and in-text citation, more tools are also listed within your assignments in PDF format. I urge you not to overlook the various elements, as this can impact your grade. I've had students simply lose huge chunks of their assignment points due to the fact that they were simply overlooking it and they were just free writing. Again, like I said, this is not a creative writing course. I'm trying to help you to better your writing skills so that you can implement it in the field. So scholarly references, what is it? Glad you asked. So if you go on to the PowerPoint itself, you'll find a video. So click on that. I can't click on it here. But again, you'll find the video, and that's where you can watch the video. Articles and where to find them. I urge you not to buy articles. You'll find the articles in your Diné College library. I've had students simply say, well, I can't go to the library. I know that. One of the biggest things is if you go into your Diné College library, there's a link right there. Go to the resources for research section. There's a little tiny indicator. Click here. Click above for online articles or jump to database. And when you click there, it'll take you here. So now you're on the right page. So on this page, you're going to have general database. So now when you're here, I want you to go all the way to the bottom. So you're going to scroll all the way down. So once you get to the bottom, you made it. Awesome. Now click on the Psych articles for article searches. So you're going to click on that. When you do, bear in mind that this is not Google. I've had students try to type in a whole phrase because they believe it's just like Google. You just type in a phrase and it'll find it for you. This is not Google. You have to put in keywords. You have to look up key definitions and key elements to try to find articles. And that's where the search process begins. And that's where you're utilizing a lot of that mindfulness and a lot of that critical thinking. So academic honesty. Again, I do not accept recycled paper. You're probably thinking, wow, this guy is a big environmentalist. I'm not. What I mean by this is recycled paper is you submitting not paperwork, but an assignment for another class and then resubmitting it for this class. Every time you submit an assignment, make sure that it's keyed into the assignment that you're writing for. So in essence, you're always writing a new assignment for each, or a new paper for each assignment. I've had students try to submit a lot of their work from English 101 or maybe a similar psych course, and when you do that, what happens is it'll come up as a red flag on SafeAssign, and I will consider that plagiarism. I'll give you 24 hours to rewrite it, and if you choose like, hey, I don't feel that's right, again, you're already warned in this academic honesty portion, as well as in your syllabus. It's already warning there. So again, that's one of the biggest things I try to reiterate. I want you to be able to do a lot of free writing in terms of every assignment you're always having to write a new paper. So again, that's where the academic rigor of college life. So again, that's one of the biggest things is college life does. You are having to write a lot, and I had students who were like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't think I would be writing this much." Yes, it is college, and that's all I can express. And I went through it. I survived. You'll get through it. You'll survive. So that's one of the biggest things, is just trying to make sure that as you're pressing onwards, you're trying to succeed in terms of your academic greatness. So SafeAssign, again, this is a tool that helps in seeing if various writings that are submitted are not plagiarized. I do utilize this technology a lot. Please do not copy other individuals' work or submit a past work that you had submitted to another course. I cannot state that enough. Again, I've had students do that. I've sent them emails, and if it happens, what I have to do is I'll note it, I'll send you an email, and we'll try to work it out. If you feel like, hey, you know what, I don't want to work it out, I feel like this is my original work, but it still is plagiarized, I will send a copy to the dean, and from then forth, if you feel like, hey, I don't want to do it, again, it is at my discretion to either keep you in the course or to drop you from that course. So again, I cannot state that enough. Do not plagiarize. Lastly, rubrics. I try not to hide anything from you. Everything that you see is exactly what I see. In terms of assignments, in terms of the layout, all the grading is there. I try to make sure that it's not a mystery. Within that, if you have any questions, please, again, I urge you to feel free to contact me. So the next portion, you'll see your syllabus in a PowerPoint format. So again, that's available to you. I urge you to go through it. I'll send out an email indicating for you to go through your syllabus, and then you'll also have a quiz on that syllabus as well. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, like I said, send me an email or contact me in some way. But other than that, I wish you the greatest success. So let me just press forward. Yes, here's the one. So all in all, I hope and wish you absolute success in this course. Happy studying, and may the odds be ever in your favor. And the reason why I say that is I leave it up to you. Again, this is your endeavor. This is your endeavor in college life, in school life. So again, like I said, I leave it up to you.